Folks, it's Thursday night. It's 8 p.m. You know what that means. It's time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. And we got, a tumultuous week to get into because we got injuries. We got title reigns being brought to an end. We have new faces arriving to take things into the next chapter. And we got a pay-per-view this weekend that I'm not sure a lot of people even know is necessarily happening because they're talking about everything else except that show. So we're going to get into all that and more. Folks, buckle in. Your Big Old Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt, Big Old Belt. All I really want is that Big Old Belt, 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 Big Old Belt. All I really need that Big Old Belt.
How is it going, everybody? Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast is live each and every Thursday, 8 p.m. We are glad you are here with us for another fun week of pro wrestling talk, as we like to do each and every week on Thursday nights. I got Giant Crab to my right on the screen, to your left, Mr. We might need to call him this week, Mr. As Seen on NXT. 2 Chains is here after being kind of a celebrity this week with a quick little appearance on Tuesday night. How is it going, my man?
Man, that shit scared the hell out of me. I keep saying, like, I was just a normal drive home from the movies, went to see the new movie Abigail. My phone is blowing up, and I'm like, I instantly thought, like, who died? But because all you bastards who hit me with your cryptic messages, did you see it? Like, oh my god, like all this other stuff, instead of just telling me, getting right to the point. But it was definitely cool. It was definitely a cool moment. But I'm good. How you two doing?
Doing good. I missed it Tuesday night when it happened. I wasn't watching live either. So it was like, I came online the next day. I was like, oh, something happened on NXT. What happened on NXT? And lo and behold, Big Old Belt Media getting featured with some footage with Carmelo Hayes. So There you go, man. Cool stuff coming out of WrestleMania weekend. The ripples of WrestleMania weekend are still being felt here a whole week plus out from it.
Yeah, and they're good. They're good interviews. I ain't tooting my horn, but they're good interviews. So like, check them out. And I was telling somebody in one of the comments that I know people go to their favorites and whatnot, but like, there was definitely a bunch of different faces in there. And different faces are gonna bring different styles, and people have different connections and so on. And those were 2 of my favorites that day. So like, I took pride in the work. So to like kind of get the flowers for that felt good. But nonetheless, the whole interviews were a good time, and Philly, for what it's worth, as rainy as it was, and the weather just not being cooperative all weekend, those were definitely highlights of the weekend.
There you go. So, folks, like he was just mentioning on Big Old Belt Media's YouTube, the full interviews with Carmelo. We got Tripp Williams up in there too, and a bunch of other people. I think you got Roxanne Perez too, also.
Roxanne. So yeah, I mean. I got the Roxanne and Lyra, little dynamic going on there. Have Damage Control. Got Rey Mysterio.
Oh damn!
Yeah, got a few more, but yeah, it was definitely a grind in there. That's for sure.
There you go. So if you're watching on YouTube tonight, if you're watching the stream there, click over to the videos once you're done, because all the interviews are live from WrestleMania weekend up on there. So
yeah,
good times. So I guess let's change gears here to what's going on this week. And I guess that kind of feels like the biggest news of the weeks came out of nowhere on Monday, where Rhea Ripley's year-long plus title reign has suddenly abruptly had to come to an end due to injury. And word kind of started to leak out Monday afternoon. And sure enough, Raw comes on the air that night, and it's like she comes out in a sling. She's got a shoulder injury. It sounds like due to the brawl last week with Liv Morgan, and they're not playing around. It's like, yeah, the title has to come off her. She's going to be out for an undisclosed amount of time, and we're off to the races with a suddenly vacated Women's World Championship that she's the only one who's ever held that belt since they did the rebranding last year. So now that Roman Reigns has been out of the way, she was the most dominant champion left in the company since Gunther had lost his belt and Roman had lost his belt. And lo and behold, now it's like, oh, we got a wide open playing field here for the women. And I think that makes things kind of interesting. But I guess initial thoughts on the word that Rhea's out, the title's vacated, and we kind of got a big question mark hanging over us right now.
I got a lot to say on this one, so let me try to bundle this up as much as possible. I am starting to enjoy wrestling a lot more when I'm staying off of social media, and when I did bounce onto social media for just a second, I had saw that Rhea was hurt from the previous week, and then I had saw Triple H or somebody or just the WWE social media post a very regular, normal lineup of things that were going to occur on Raw, just for Raw to open up, and Rhea's in the sling, and she goes out there. It's not a promo. She just lays out her emotions, and she has to vacate the title. And I'm instantly buying into it because I'm always going to buy into anybody who's genuinely being herself. And when this raw emotions and how much that title is meant to her, and like, listen, she defended it back home, you know, and you, as you mentioned, she's the only one to have held that title, and she's been having her and the Judgment Day have been having like an insane last year or so. So, you know, considering everything that the storylines with the Judgment Day, her having a title, Damian Priest having a title, I mean, we haven't even been able to get that optic, that visual long enough of both of them holding the title. So like, there's a lot that you have to think that she's just, you know, flowing through her head. And also we know in this business that like when one person's down, the next person's up, and that train may not come back to you. And then this is what I said in the group chat, and I wanted to bring it to the show, is I remember the day Rhea Ripley was born. It was at the Mae Young Classic, and at the Mae Young Classic, which was definitely the best bang for my buck I've ever spent in pro wrestling, that if you remember in the Mae Young Classic, that Tegan Knox had not only been rumored, that had not only been built to have won that, and actually when you think about it, it was definitely the person that had needed to win it, just for the person that they needed to have that accolade in order to take them to the next level of stardom. Toni Storm was obviously in there. I don't know if Io Shirai was in it that year, but it was Toni Storm and somebody else who were like very dominant and very popular from all over the world, but they didn't need to win it. But Tegan was that person. Tegan got hurt, and when Tegan got hurt, I remember the entire day of what were they going to do with Tegan being hurt? Could they turn this into an angle? What would they do? On the opposite end of Tegan Knox, after she was initially hurt and had to come back out, was the birth of Monster Hill Rhea Ripley, when she changed from whatever that first gimmick was to this, was her taking that moment and really getting herself over, because Tegan was down and out and hurt, and she, you know, fed to the crowd. She disregarded her injury, and she made a moment for herself. So she became the Monster Hill, forced Toni Storm to win. So they both win in that rate. And it's the same thing, and it's kind of insane to think that. But when you talk about the opportunities here, I know Liv Morgan's right there, but it feels like it's the same thing. With her being down, this is truly the opportunity for them to invest in a star who absolutely needs it. That person who's going to be able to go against a megastar who's already established, but the person that needs to win it, or the person that needs to be in its sphere, needs to be somebody that needs that extra bit of juice to get to that next level of stardom, just to hold and prepare to go against Rhea Ripley, who is sure cash, a sure much watch storyline when it all happens. So to me, you never wish injury on anybody. But when you have to kind of say, you know, the best outcome, the fact that it happens after WrestleMania, the fact that this is the reset button, the fact now that you got an opportunity to birth a new star, the next person up. It's unfortunate for Rhea, but this is definitely best yet come outcome for WWE, in the sense of them losing one of their mega stars. So consider me to say all this. Consider me overly excited to see what happens with this title, with Rhea's return, with Rhea's absence, and so on. I can imagine, and I say all that to say about Rhea before, I can imagine Rhea is going to advocate for that star to be born, because she just knows how these moments of somebody's injury could be completely career trajectory changing for somebody else. And I think she's going to embrace that, and I think her comeback is going to be stronger and better than ever.
Here's why I don't care. I've never was particularly interested in Rhea Ripley as a character, and I know that he's a very WWE character, high concept, less wrestling. but it really is to the point of no next woman up. Well, she's not here. Who's ready to take that next step and get in there and be the next champion that's going to carry him? Hell, at least to SummerSlam, Survivor Series, perhaps longer than that, perhaps. And I'm not entirely sure who that woman is. Now, obviously, NXT, there could be some call-ups, could be some moves that have made. We'll have to see what this means for people like Jada, Bianca Belair, who definitely could slip into that position and do a thing in that regard. Yeah,
SmackDown. Sure. So yeah, they're not that.
We got a draft coming.
Yeah,
they're ready to crown next week. That's how you know they're ready to pull the trigger on making their next person right now. They didn't hold this out for no tournament. They didn't hold this out for when she comes back. They're ready to make the moment right now.
Yeah, so I'm okay with it being obviously not wanting anyone to be hurt, but since this is where we are, I'm okay with something happening where it is we move on to the next thing. But and it's good to see the WWE has a plan B, because we've seen what happens when a star gets hurt, and it's like, well, how long are you going to be out? 6 months, 8 months, maybe. Okay, interim championship.
Right.
We've seen that before, so I'm glad that they're able to move on with a plan, knowing that this is what it's going to be. The question is, can somebody step up to what Rhea Ripley was bringing, whether I like it or not? Can somebody fill her shoes? Mm-hmm. That's going to be fairly tough to do for a number of reasons. Rhea Ripley, definitely made the most of that opportunity. So now the real question is, Nia Jax, 18-month-long women's title run. Go ahead, book it, Triple H.
Yeah. I'm pro Nia here, so let's do it. Let's do it. But I'll quickly say, Will, before you get in there, two things I want to mention. I wanted to see if you touch upon it. So Steve Falls, one of the wrestling media, he was like, why is she hurt? And why does she have to vacate the title when Seth Rollins was hurt? He didn't, and other examples and whatnot. And again, this is why I feel like, number one, it's either one, the severity of her injury, or two, I've heard this too, so I'm not going to take credit for it. Or two, maybe they were ready for her to drop the title, so just happened to streamline things a little bit. Or three, go back to my thing where maybe she is advocating to drop the title for next star to be born. Because if you ask me, the moment that Rhea Ripley that we know today was born was due to Tegan Knox's injury and her being able to go to the championship of the Mae Young Classic and have that moment. And I'm telling you, if you go back and watch it on the Peacock, it is absolutely a career-changing moment for Rhea Ripley. Whatever that first gimmick was, I mean, she would literally be Raquel Gonzalez 2.0, and she had never changed. And that's not a good thing at all. But I would love, speaking of NXT, I know Roxanne is the champion, but I'm trying to tell you, they need to pull the trigger on her and do something right now with her. I would streamline her to the main roster and get it done next week and let her be a double champion. Make her do something in the sense of the Kevin Owens of the world, where you bring them up and you put the strap right on them and you make her the biggest baby face in the company just until Rhea Ripley is able to come back. And let her go against all those other mega heels that are just sitting up there. Nia Jax is there. I don't know if I could watch a Nia Jax and Roxanne match. That might get brutal, but nonetheless, it's right there. But if it's not Roxanne, if it's not somebody like Loda Vice, who's just kind of sitting in purgatory right now, then yeah, Nia Jax all the way. Cash it in. Put the whole mortgage on it.
Well, this is an interesting one because, I mean, there's definitely multiple ways they could go here. You have I think storyline wise, you have the obvious route of, okay, a lot of people are saying, well, you got to give it to Liv Morgan because Liv Morgan hurt her. They have the backstory there. You put it on Liv. Liv gets to have her revenge tour all summer. And then if she's ready by SummerSlam, you do Rhea and Liv at SummerSlam, or, whenever Rhea's ready, that's the eventual destination to bring everything full circle, since they were both involved in each other's injuries and storyline and all that. And yes, you could go that way. There is something to be said, though, for what you're saying. It's the post-WrestleMania season where they always try some new stuff this time of year anyway. So the idea of, oh, maybe a Roxanne Perez gets the call up and immediately is made champion for a few months. You could easily do that and then still shift it to Liv if you want once Rhea is ready to come back. It's not like she's coming back in a couple weeks. They wouldn't have took the title off her, but it's just going to be a couple weeks. We don't know an exact time frame, but we're definitely looking at months here. And it's post-Mania, like you said earlier, people are like, well, Seth Rollins got to keep his title. It's like, yeah, that was before WrestleMania, when you have a WrestleMania up ahead and all that, where it's like, unless it's worst case scenario, they were going to give every bit of leniency they could when it's WrestleMania involved. When there's not WrestleMania involved this time of year, there's a lot more options on the table. So, yeah, you could go with Liv. Yeah, you could shock everyone and do like someone from NXT and do a couple month run with that and really make things interesting, break open the kind of mold there. Like I said, Rhea's had it for a year. So there is like a lot of area here to like have a very different feel for a title reign, I think. And maybe the other factor is just the draft is coming. But like you said, they're saying they're going to take care of this next week, but we also haven't gotten any specifics about that either. So that don't sound like they're doing a tournament. That sounds like they're going to do like maybe a 3-way or a 4-way or something, and just whoever wins it gets the belt. But if it's being settled next Monday, then they have some clear idea of a quick way they're looking to get this done. But they haven't tipped their hand on that yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Make note though too that like by expediting a successor here shows their focus into the women's division.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't put it in the back burner. There's we'll get to it. They're like, nah, we need to handle this now. And that's intriguing to me. All of this is very intriguing to me. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
so other than Nia, go ahead.
No, it's, I don't mind it. I like that they actually have a plan, and that's kind of what they've done in the last, when this happens before. It is, we'll do the tournament, or we'll unveil a new thing, and the tournament conspicuously ends at the next pay-per-view. I mean, we've seen that story play out before, and now they're just like, nope, we got a plan B, and I like it.
There we go. We got the decisive move. It's just a matter of what it's going to be.
And I ain't buying to Liv right away. It's
too obvious. It's too simple.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel rewarding. I mean, if you've been a Liv fan, it has always been about the fight and, and wanting to see her succeed, but just being it handed to her, I don't think that's going to fare well for her and her fandom. And now she's, I guess, semi-heel in this situation.
She's very much channeling Drew McIntyre this past week with the whole idea that, what's the problem? Rhea hurt me and I had to go away. Now it's just, me getting my licks back, and it's the same situation, except she has a title involved. So that's the part that's interesting to me. But like we were saying, until Rhea's back, that story, you put that story in your back pocket. You have that story to tell once Rhea's ready to return. So I think there's definitely a case here to be, give someone else the title to spice something up, make things interesting, and then have Liv ready there in the wings. Like, all right, Rhea's coming back in 2 months. Have Rhea beat whoever it is. If that means, like, hell, do a babyface champion in the meantime. Roxanne Perez might be it. She might be the one, even though she's been playing heel down at NXT. It might be the move out. You move her up and you have her go back to her, young, fiery babyface deal and just go with that.
Yeah, I mean, the heel work is good, but no one really believes it. I'm not saying nobody buys into it, but everybody's like, you're such a nice, likable person. Like, what's this hissy fit going on with you right now?
Yeah. I've been enjoying the heel work just as something different out of her. But, I mean, her bread and butter is fiery underdog that you want to cheer for. So that might be the move. That might be the move. I guess we'll see on Monday what they do there. Do we want to move on to the next topic? Are we anything else to say on this?
Is there anybody of French descent?
Ooh, to tie into Backlash. God, no one's jumping out at me off the top of my head. There's probably someone down there in the warehouse in NXT that probably is, but no one that's ready as far as I know. No one we've been seeing on TV that I can think of.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
All right. Well, let's see what else is our stuff going on this week, since it's still pretty early in our first half here. Bloodline 2.0 was the other drama of the past. I guess our post WrestleMania season here with everything that's going on. So on SmackDown, we had, no Roman Reigns in sight, which we kind of figured would happen, that he's, away. We'll probably get into later what he's doing out in Hollywood since he's got some projects already coming up. But the big surprise was old Solo Sikoa. Apparently he's been making some phone calls and had a discussion with Jimmy Uso. That did not go well for Jimmy Uso. That led to Jimmy Uso getting a thumb to the throat and getting beat down on. And lo and behold, who shows up in a hood? Tama Tonga arrives as the newest member of the Bloodline and clearly aligned with Solo and him. So the two of them together. And Paul Heyman kind of in a weird limbo where they took his phone and did not want him making a call, but they also made it clear that this was by order of the tribal chief. So there's some dynamics going on there. But I guess the first thing is Tama Tonga has arrived. He's affiliated with the Bloodline, like I think many people were thinking might happen when word came up that he was coming in. And we're now in the post-Roman Reigns era of the Bloodline, I suppose, for the moment. So I don't know. The thoughts on this, and I guess where is this going? Because it's post-Mania now. I do not think we are going to see Roman Reigns anytime soon. So what are we doing here? And are there more new faces possibly coming too?
The short answer is I don't expect to see Roman this year. I wouldn't expect to see Roman back before the Royal Rumble next year.
Oh wow, long haul.
Yeah. And it's not because he's filming that movie that he is actually filming right now. And it's not because he's actually on the Brock Lesnar Cena Rock schedule. It's just because they've had the moment. The story is finished for him for right now. He was already winding down anyway, so I can't imagine why he doesn't have to be there every week to have his presence felt, as we've seen already. So I can't imagine why he wouldn't be back. And realistically, a surprise return at the Royal Rumble makes the most sense for me because they can get the ball rolling into WrestleMania season again. And then, of course, you have and yes, it is the Royal Rumble, but we're already in the middle of April. So that's 7 months, 8 months. That's not a year. So yeah, that'd be a thing. Just in time for Rhea Ripley to come back if she's still in that 7 to 8 month timeline with her shoulder injury too. So hey, that could be a thing. As far as Tama Tonga coming in, that was fairly surprising because Tonga and Samoa are not the same place. So how does that work out? If
they're stretching that family tree like they like to do.
Yeah, they're not. That's not the same country. So that's and he's literally named Tama Tonga. That would be like saying that Philadelphia Pete is from New York. No, that is not the same thing. So, but either way, I think he's obviously a good wrestler and it's really funny. WWE fans are like, oh my God, it's Tama Tonga. And then of course, but I thought y'all didn't watch anything else with WWE. So why do you know who he is? Why is he a big deal? Like, how did that happen? So that's one thing. But as far as where does this Bloodline story go, honestly, and we've seen this happen before, I think they can put the Bloodline on the slow track because the fast track is whatever they do with the women's title after Rhea Ripley is done, the rise of Jade, the insertion of NXT folk, and getting ready for the back half of the year, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble in January. That doesn't have to be 100% Bloodline centric. There's still a lot of unresolved questions as far as what Drew McIntyre is going to do. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. They're still publicizing Clash at the Castle with McIntyre and his big ass sword on there. Will he actually make the event? That's the thing. So it is a thing. I don't have a problem with the Bloodline taking the back seat, moving into a secondary role as we've seen before. So it's okay. It's okay. They can take a step back.
Is it like 6'8" Jake here is saying, time to pass the torch, old fella? Is this the Roman Reigns, I need to be out of the way because otherwise he casts too big a shadow, so it's time for everyone else to shine?
I would have agreed with that if The Rock didn't come in and sun that man for like a good month. I mean, that was part of the. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but that was part of the problem where, like, you know, poor Seth Rollins, and then later on, poor Roman Reigns, because good Lord, the shadow of The Rock, you know, is deeper than the eclipse that happened, you know, a couple weeks ago, and Roman kind of really felt like being a third wheel. So, is it time to pass the torch? Well, you know, I mean, realistically, there is no torch to pass because it's not like they have who's going to be the next champion. We already have the secondary championship, you know, getting kind of, you know, uplifted now that Roman's out of the way. And realistically, do they, and they probably won't, but do they combine those at some point in the near future? Because we don't need a consolation title anymore. That's going to be something to consider if Roman's not a mainstay over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I don't know. I mean, I think in the very, very near future, the Bloodline takes a back seat. You know where we are. Thanos just sat down. He's looking out over the horizon, and he's looking at a grateful galaxy, and we've just faded to black. That's where I got off the ride. I don't know what happened after that. I don't really care. It's all good after that. It's whatever it is. Nothing else really truly matters until the next big thing happens. And I think that's where we're going to be until either a major signee happens, either from New Japan or AEW, or the NXT guys come up in a major way and like just establish, I don't want to say dominance, but establish themselves in a major way on the main roster. But as far as the Bloodline goes, that is done. That is done and dusted. We're good with that. Obviously, the story will go on, but it does not need to be prominent like it was for the past 3-4 years.
Get in or two, James.
I always said that the person that was going to suffer the most in the Bloodline story was going to be Solo, especially when The Rock came, because Solo had such a impactful debut from NXT to the story, and then he started to have this cookie cutter approach with his booking on, and now that he becomes to be like the I don't know, the pseudo leader here, you know, much like Jamal said, some people are jumping off board because the big dog isn't there. But I do think this is the pivotal point for the Bloodline to be resilient and find ways to still be relevant without Roman Reigns and The Rock's aura there. And yes, it doesn't have to be Hollywood. It doesn't have to be, you know, mainstream media appeal. But I think they still have a lot of room under them to still be wrestling relevant. The whole Tama Tonga signing is cool. If they're family, then so be it. You know, I'm black. We say everybody's our cousin, so I ain't gonna sit here and never try to tell somebody that somebody's not related to them when we be doing it too. But like, you know, if they make it make sense, man, and if he comes in and gives them a new coat of paint and draws more interest and actually make things potentially interesting for whenever Roman decides to come back, then yeah, I'm cool with it. I know a lot of people don't like this statement, but Roman Reigns deserved a break here, man. He carried the company for a long time, and he's been more and more, ratings and everything, merchandise, all that, absolutely backs that claim. But you know, he's been more transparent about his health and reminding folks that that's still a thing. And I think for all it's worth, even for the mainstream media and entertainment sort of popularity that he's grown, I like to see him go out there and get it. He's only been in one or two movies. I think like the Tooth Fairy and then the Hobbs and Shaw. He was in something else in the little cameo. So I would like for him to go get another check, man. Go get some more endorsements, you know, capitalize off of some of those commercials and stuff that he has. So I'm cool to see him. And also, as we always say, what Jade has recently said, what the WWE vehicle can do for you. And a lot of people are reaping the benefits of it. Your main top wrestler was not one of them at the time. So I would like to see him go out there and get it and see how that transforms him into whatever his return is going to be. And yeah, if he doesn't come back at all this year, that would be a hell of a thing for him to come back at the Royal Rumble, because whatever bookings we are going to be thinking about, if there's even a rumor that he's going to be in it, he's winning. He's absolutely winning. And then the last thing I would just say is, and the only way that's not happening, if for whatever reason the ratings decide to drop, and then Nick Khan going to hit that emergency red button, and my man going to be right back here. It could be a Wednesday he going to show up. So, you know,
break glass in
debut on
case of
Netflix?
emergency.
Absolutely.
Well, when did they debut on Netflix?
January.
Yep.
But like before the Rumble or after? Like, is the
Beginning
Raw
of the
after
year.
the Rumble going to be on Netflix?
Start of the year. Start of 2020.
Okay, so it's like January 1 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the thing, and we've said it before. You know, that put it in the product behind another paywall is going to be the litmus test. Will they be able to retain as many fans as they have with just traditional cable and streaming? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they will, but history is not on their side with this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And it would be interesting to see if they push that button, if Roman hasn't made his return before January. But if we see that Netflix, if they're not getting their money out of the Netflix deal in the immediate future, soon after their launch on Netflix, then they'll
be okay. I think they'll be okay.
It'll be okay, because Netflix paid $5 billion for it. But
the money's already in the bank here with that.
I mean,
that's about that.
Exactly. That's not the problem. I mean, the problem is that whether or not they will be able to, and dare I say, grow with WWE. But it is because it is. But we've seen what happens when you jump from a traditional thing that people have always known and loved to something else.
It's
and
only
real quick. I point to when SmackDown is on Fox Sports 1, because of whatever reason it got bumped off of Fox. Nobody went to Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, two things I want to quick on, because I know we got a break. The only difference between this is that you're not taking it off of USA, which is really not a prominent channel if you ask me, and throwing it on Destination America. Or if you're talking about a streaming service here, you're not taking it and like putting it on like DAZN, which is like a very niche type of app. You're putting it on the biggest app outside of Peacock. I don't know. I think Peacock still may be the biggest in terms of subscribers, just because of how their tiers are done. But like, everybody knows what a Netflix is. Everybody knows where Netflix is at. Netflix is integrated in any device that you buy, any television. Damn near every computer has a Netflix app. You're not going to miss on Netflix. And if you want your wrestling, folks are going to go find it. And that's just what it is. So I think it's going to be really interesting next year. And I hate the ratings talk. I hate about who won what night, but I'm very curious to see.
Netflix doesn't announce ratings.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that very much. I was just going to say, I'm very curious to hear, though, by next year, what the subscriber increase or drop off is. And also, how does Netflix decide to plan their releases around this? Because the popular shows drive subscribers. And when those popular shows are done, people tend to be like, I'll be back when that comes back, So
also,
we'll see
Netflix is also going up in conjunction with WWE coming. So,
of course.
I mean, so
nothing new there.
That's the thing that's going to happen. So, yes, I understand that Netflix is popular. Nobody's going to argue that they're not. But if you're telling me that I got to pay for a thing that I've never had to pay for before, and if you're telling me that thing is going to go up when they get there,
you got to pay for cable. You got to pay for cable. It's not.
I'm not saying you don't have to pay for cable, but if I have to pay for cable and Netflix, then something's got to give. And I'm not. And again, money bag yo over here can go ahead and flex. I mean, because I don't have Netflix and I ain't paying for it.
Cut the cord.
I'm just saying that the reality of it is, for some families, is that the inherent charge of an additional for WWE. And because everybody has Netflix, but everybody is also relative, because I don't have.
That is the wrong terminology in a streaming service climax. Climax that's not the same. It's not paying more, getting extra, because people have already made the decision of which one they're going to go. For the folks who have, don't you have what's the thing? What's the streaming provider that also has television channels? I can't think of the name of it. There's like Hulu TV, and then there's like two other, Sling and Fubo. There we go. Don't you have one of them?
Nope.
Okay, well, regardless, the point is that like some people have already made the decision, say cable's gone, I'm going this route, or I'm gonna package all my apps, or I'm going to stay cable and have like whatever free ones that the cable have thrown. So I don't think it's the narrative of paying extra. I think everybody has already made the decision of where they're going to go, and I do not think this deal will be the determining factor for folks to say, "Oh, done with my cable, I'm going there." There has been plenty of other reasons right now for folks to decide where their allegiances are going to be, whether it's The Office, whether it's Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, whether it's soccer, whether it is I don't know, the Sunday ticket. People are going to decide what they want to decide already. This is not going to make somebody go into a different direction at that rate, or and not so much a philosophy of a different direction of cable to streaming, but like, hey, I will get that app, or I've already had that app, I'm just going to renew it. But I don't think it's going to be like that. I got to get that extra.
It's not the difference maker. It's not the absolute
not at
difference
all.
maker. No.
Well,
Right,
maybe I'm broker than I realized, because to me, as much as I pay $0 for my television, because I don't subscribe to any streaming things. So anything that I get is a plus. It is plus dollars out of my wallet. Whether I pay for cable or I pay for internet or not, adding something to that is a plus. And if you are as broke as me, and you watching this on your phone that's attached to a light post, let me know that I stand with you in solidarity. And I'd be goddamn if I'm paying $20 for Netflix a month for WWE, because that is the difference maker for me, because I don't have it already. So yeah, sure. I mean, obviously people are going to have to make a choice, but as we've seen before in the past, when it comes time to put up or shut up, it'll be interesting to see how many do.
All right, let's do this. We're overdue for our damn halftime here. So let's hit halftime real quick. 6'8" Jake put a question in here I want to hit when we come back from halftime about who is most suitable to usurp Roman Reigns as the face of WWE, since we were getting into all that with him being away. So let's hit that when we get back, since that ties into the whole conversation we were having. So folks, stay with us. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast will be back right after this.
A little birdie told me, everybody, that you may be interested in doing some sponsorship and advertising opportunities with us here at Big Gold Belt Media. You know what? You might as well, because we are the golden standard for all of your media needs. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Besides, all of your pre-roll ads, your mid-roll ads, as well as your on-air reads are going to be done by me, Damian G. Yeah, professional broadcaster, Damian G. We do all types of social media promotions. That means your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your business website all get shouted out on our network here at Big Gold Belt Media, where we cover wrestling, movies, comics, and more. And you can find out more information and make those inquiries, kids, because, limited time offer here at Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Again, that is Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I wouldn't. Well, I work here, but I still wouldn't even if I didn't. So again, Big Gold Belt Media for all your sponsorship and advertising opportunities, your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media platforms, as well as any business website you want us to promote on our show. Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com, and let them know Damon G sent you.
Thanks for being with us here, folks. Thursday, 8 p.m. each and every week, your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast is live, and we're glad you're here with us. We got these questions coming in from folks. Everyone is honest. Jamal, Tubi got the programming.
Damn right. No excuse, bro. Free 99. Get black entertained in the worst way on there.
Those Tubi movies be a damn trip. Those directed Tubi damn things.
Man, listen, if you're looking for a good time, there you go, man. For the free 99, you don't even got to complain. You just got to smash your palm on your face and say, why did I watch that? But damn, it was free, so I ain't tripping. Hey, let me answer this question right here. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah. When I was younger, we used to have this thing where it's like, if you wear one brand, I mean, it's still the same thing now, but most of the time, if you wear one brand, you sort of suit up and down with the same brand. You have Nike, you have Nike head to toe. The thing about brands, legitimate brands, there's none of that in the entertainment industry, because if you, as the previous comment about Tubi, go ahead and get your DCU fix on there, which is a Warner Brothers Discovery property, which you like, why would that be on Tubi when they have Max? You can also see some of that on Netflix. So the philosophy of being able to have your properties on different brands is very standard right now. Let's not forget that you have the replays of WWE on Hulu, which is Disney. You have Peacock, which is NBC Universal / Comcast. And then you have Netflix, which is its own thing. So yeah, when you can capitalize off of $1 on multiple platforms, you go get it. So yeah, not a problem at all here. And multiple examples of this across the board.
Yeah, the situation for right now is in 2025, at least in the US, Peacock will still have the PLEs. I think for 2025 and 2026. Outside of the US, everything is going to Netflix. So whenever the Peacock deal is up, Netflix will have the opportunity then, if they want to pony up and become the home for all things WWE, they'll have to do it then. But Peacock has it locked up for a few more years in North America. But outside that's the thing. Outside the US, the old school WWE network as of January is gone. It's all on Netflix if you're outside the US. So no more legacy WWE network outside of America anymore.
Yeah, if you got friends and family overseas, it's almost eerie when you hear about something you watch here on a particular app, and they're like, "Yeah, it's on Netflix." You're like, "Yeah, that's an error," but like, "Oh wait, actually, that might be actually true for them."
International distributions all over the place.
Yeah,
all over the place.
It's something that's coming, something that's streaming to. I can't remember this. Something that's about to come out and stream, and I'm like, I heard somebody promote it, said it's coming to Netflix. So it's like, no, that's not going to Netflix. That's going. I think it was going to like Peacock, and I was like, oh yeah, they might be overseas. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
There you go. All right. So that question from 6'8" Jake about who is most suitable to usurp Roman Reigns as the face of WWE. I mean, I'll go right quick and give my take. I mean, I think the obvious answer people would say is Cody. That's who they've been building to for this whole damn time. With Cody finally winning the belt, is that Cody's the guy they're going with. I think the key thing here is, and we mentioned this before in prior shows, with if Roman was finally going to drop the belt, I look back to WCW when they made Goldberg champ, and Goldberg was going to be the guy. The big problem was Hulk Hogan stuck around. And hell, the same thing happened to Sting, too. When Sting won the belt, Hogan stuck around, and his damn shadow still was all over everything, even though he wasn't the champ. So the key here is Roman going away, like we were talking about. If Jamal's right that he's gone all the way to Royal Rumble, that's the key here, is other people getting the chance, whether it's Cody or anybody else, to have that ball. And the big bad tribal chief is nowhere to be seen in the meantime. That's the key thing, is giving people an actual chance to run with that ball without, like, right behind him is like, oh, there's the real champ. He's just busy over here doing this feud. It's like, no, nowhere to be seen. That's got to be the key thing here. So we can't relive WCW with a Goldberg or Sting situation in this case. I'd say Cody. Is there anyone else that might be in that era, possible discussion of face of the company minus Cody?
I mean, Seth, he has a contract renewal coming up. I can imagine that being a part of the resigning.
What about his wife?
And obviously Becky's just right there, you know. So, but other than that, I'm not sure. Drew also has a resigning, so I can imagine some of these folks wanting these clauses within their contract to get a little bit of more mainstream and facial push for them and their brand and whatnot. So, but yeah, if it's not Cody, maybe Seth.
So I was leaning towards one, but I'm going to say the other. The one that I was leaning towards was Damian Priest. I don't see why not, but then because the question is, when would somebody become the face of the company? Does it happen now? Does it happen a couple years from now? Does it happen when Roman Reigns is fully on his John Cena legend schedule? And I don't see why Damian Priest wouldn't be that guy right now. He's already on the up with, as the World Heavyweight Champion, the Constellation Champion. Judgment Day had a hell of a year, had a hell of an 18 months. And he's definitely been a major factor in that. Why wouldn't he continue to rise and go forth? And obviously being, Latin, he speaks to a lot of audiences. So yes. I wouldn't mind seeing Damian Priest. And the reason why I say not Cody, because Cody would be the obvious answer, is because I don't think he's long for the company. The story's finished. I think that Cody can see the end and is ready to land the plane. It may not happen for another 3 or 4 years, but I don't see Cody wrestling at 45. I really don't. I think that this is what he wanted to do. He did it, and he's on his way out. So, yeah, I don't know. And I don't have faith in Rollins. I don't care if it's Sheamus. I don't think it's Drew McIntyre, face of the company. So the other person that I really think it's going to be, I would like for it to be Carmelo Hayes. And again, we're talking much further down the road. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he has to, be formally introduced into the main roster. But I think that he could be that guy. If he's half as good at the main roster as he is on NXT, then he's going to fit right in. And I like to see once he gets there, especially since NXT is a lot more streamlined with what the main roster wants. I can definitely see him being inserted into the fold. Hopefully, he stays injury-free and just coming in there and being the guy that they need at the time that they need it. So I think Damian Priest is a good guy right now. I think Carmelo Hayes is definitely being aligned, in the future. But also, for me, the elephant in the room is named Jade Cargill. It's not that I'm not feeling
call on Jade.
It's not that I'm not feeling Trick Williams, but I think between the two, Trick Williams, Damian Priest, with his size, with his athleticism, the voice, and everything, he's already doing what a lot of Trick Williams brings to the table already, and he already has the belt to prove it. Carmelo Hayes, though, I think has a lot more longer down the road. Trick's cool, but we already got a guy that does that already. But I do think Jade, it's WWE. I don't know what people expect from her from a wrestling standpoint. She's not going to be Sarah Del Rey. She's not going to be AJ Lee. She's not going to be Natty Neidhart. So she's not going to be this, any Japanese Joshi wrestler. She ain't. That's not what she's going to be. What she is going to be is a superstar, and that's what she was in AEW. So for all of the rumors and stuff that AEW didn't teach her how to wrestle, well, it's WWE. Just know how to wrestle. She doesn't need to know how to wrestle. She just needs to know how to look good, and take the occasional bump. So I think if it ain't Jade, then I don't know what they're thinking from the woman's perspective. But then again, we also haven't seen Roxanne Perez and Tiffany Stratton and whoever. But
or the fans decide. Becky moment was literally an anomaly, and at that moment, she became.
Not if you ask people that don't like Nia Jax.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think the fans are going to decide. Cody's there. I don't know about Cody thinking that the sale has shipped here. Cody's going to stick around as long as he can earn, as long as he can milk being the top babyface. I think his main reason of leaving AEW is because not only did it have anything to do with finish the story, but he didn't feel welcome there, and he talked about his mental health, and we've seen him get booed for fun and all sorts of different stuff. He's having the time of his life. He's the most over person in that company. He doesn't even have to come out and wrestle nowadays. All he has to do is hit
actually
the music.
Piggyback on that point. Cody Rhodes felt so bad about AEW, worse than he did about Stardust, that he had to leave. So just to put that into perspective.
Yeah.
He went back to the place that made him Stardust because he felt that bad in AEW. So there you go.
Yeah. So I don't know. The fans are going to decide. That's where I'm at with it. But what about you, Will? Does anybody seem overly attractive for this or what? Or do Roman Reigns not let anybody get that spot and continues to have a presence?
Now, when Roman eventually comes back, I mean, clearly he will be inserted right back into the top of the card, and that'll be that. And for sure, come WrestleMania season, it's going to be all about the Tribal Chief again. No doubt about that. And hell, the way this past WrestleMania went, I'm sure it'll also be about The Rock again. We'll probably get the match that we were supposed to get this year, but we'll get it next year. Because hell, hey, we're a week removed now. We know for sure now. Rock made it through WrestleMania season without tearing every muscle in his body. So I'm sure he is thrilled about that and looking to do some more stuff. I mean, Cody even mentioned it this past week on Raw. He thinks Rock has more matches left in it. So it is what it is. I like the idea that was mentioned to Jade. Damian Priest also. I keep forgetting about Damian Priest, even though they just made him world champion. But hey, I mean, I keep going back to that damn match last year with Bad Bunny. And that they entrusted him with that and how well that went.
You said clearly, last year. You mean the last 2 years?
Yeah. Well, with the tag match and then also the singles in San Juan was the big one. That was the big one. The one in Puerto Rico last May, where it was like straight up 1-on-1, and they pulled that off and hit a damn home run. So clearly they think very highly of Damian Priest. So, and like Jamal was saying, he has a lot of crossover potential that other folks don't have. So there's people with a lot of pluses and different things they can bring to the table in this situation.
Yep.
So, yeah. Let's switch gears to AEW, because they got a show this weekend. I know me and Jamal talked about it last week when they were doing the whole the big reveal of the security camera footage, and we were like, is this actually helping anything? And we weren't too high on that. And now we're here. The pay-per-view's here. Last week we were saying it was overshadowed by the behind the scenes footage, but AEW Dynasty is this weekend. But is anyone excited about it? Jamal, what's your thoughts on this weekend?
I think that the state of Oklahoma has gifted AEW a tremendous opportunity for mainstream appeal and to take that ball and run with it in a wrestling way. And yet Dynasty is still happening. I don't know. You don't get an opportunity to make national news for doing something, for not doing anything bad. And you just leave that money on the table. But as far as the show goes, it looks like there's 10 matches on the card, with one being on the pre-show. So that makes 9 on the regular show. There isn't any match that I need to see. I know that Will Ospreay versus Danielson is going to be a big match for a lot of people. Okada versus Pac is a big match for a lot of people. But there isn't anything that I absolutely need to see. And that's the question that it comes down to, because AEW still is on pay-per-view. Is this pay-per-view worth $50?
Right. That's the question every time.
And that's
now they're monthly.
And honestly, because we old, is this worth staying up to midnight for on a Sunday night?
Right.
And that's also another question to answer. And Joe versus Shane Strickland is probably the match that I'm most interested in, just because I think that's just going to be a bloody mess. But I don't know if I'm going to be up at 11:45 at night, trying to watch the finish of that. But then also $50, I can't come up with WWE money for Netflix. I don't know how the hell I'm going to afford this one. So it's, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'll probably will forget about it come, what is it, 8:45? Yeah, I'll probably forget about it by 9:30, and then realize on Monday morning that they had a pay-per-view when I get to work, and it just, nothing is really jumping out at me that I need to see, so I don't know. And the weird thing is that because they're doing so many pay-per-views over the next year, and that's going to be the standard going forward, the booking for this has been really interesting. Not necessarily flat, but just interesting because of the fact that they put together this card, and it just feels like it came out of nowhere. Go ahead.
Listen, I don't know if this is a deterrent or not, but like the fact that you're doing a major pay-per-view in St. Louis automatically has me kind of woozy. Like I feel like when you're booking pay-per-views, city appeal, stadium appeal, destination desire are big factors. Number one, the $50 pay-per-view, 1,000%.
Well, I'm not going to the building, so why does that matter? I mean, what does it matter if being at the Chaffetz Arena versus being at anywhere else? You're still watching it at home.
Because I think there's an aurora around certain places. I mean, I don't think Madison Square Garden is at all a nice arena, but let's call it what it is. It has that notoriety to it. It has that fight feel to it. So I just think when you kind of default to some of these alias locations, I think it also to me it speaks to how much you value the pay-per-view in general. So like if I was like, Jamal, you trying to hit a concert at the Verizon's or Cap One Center, or you trying to go to Showplace Arena? You understand that we're talking about way two different things here, right?
No, but to be fair though, my immediate question to you would be who's paying for these tickets? Because I don't have WWE on Netflix money, so I don't care if we're going to the Showplace Arena and we smell like horse ass for 3.5 hours, or if we're going to the Verizon Center and get stabbed on the Metro afterwards. You know, where these tickets money's coming from?
But nonetheless, what I realized about AEW, in all fairness, is that listen, they're going to put together fantasy, high desire wrestling matches. They're gonna tote or dabble into the entertainment aspect, but they're really about trying to put their best wrestlers on paper in a match and just letting it do what it do. To me, as an owner of WWE 2K, I sometimes like to cut it on, watch the intros, pick my favorite wrestler versus another favorite wrestler, and just go for it. Feels like what AEW is at times, where it's just like, that person's popular, I like that person, good mesh of styles, let's see what happens here. And honestly, it's kind of how combat sports is nowadays, where they just say like, that person versus that person seems to be a good opponent, let's see what happens, you know? And they can focus on 1 to 2 storylines, definitely not including the women. but then after that, it's just a whole card of just like, that person versus that person would be cool. So it is very, very much normalized to being a super glorified, highly value at now $2 billion promotion, running and booking like an independent show, who is trying to see who's available for that card.
Oh,
so,
that's not true, because at least some of the indie shows have actual storylines that keep you coming back from month to month. As you just said, that AEW feels like a fantasy bookings, fantasy bookers, dream, and maybe it does at times, because none of these storylines are really, if you're big into storylines, I am not. So I do just want to see good wrestling. But if you are a storyline person, none of these storylines are really hidden, especially compared to other things that are going on in wrestling, TNA or WWE, for example. Now, about the venue, because apparently you're not, really fond of the beautiful Chaffetz Arena on the, at St. Louis University. Go Billikens, by the way. Where would this where would this thing have to be to raise its level of prestige? Or because it's a B pay-per-view, it should be in a B pay-per-view city.
And listen, they got an opportunity to make history, crowning their first Black world champion.
Cody Rhodes. Oh, you said world champion. That's right. Okay.
Cody will eventually come back to win that belt.
He has to.
Maybe.
To me, this reeked Vegas. This seems like Double or Nothing. This is where this should have went. So this felt like we're going to do more pay-per-views. Just slide that in there. And I'm not saying Vegas is the say all be all of big pay-per-views, but we all know that Double or Nothing is a destination for AEW.
Well, you notice a certain CEO is waiting until Vegas to make her wrestling debut. She sure as heck ain't doing it in St. Louis this weekend.
That's all you need. That's all you need to know. I'll rest my case there.
Yeah, I think for me, Jamal nailed it earlier. It's like, there's matches on here that I know for some people they are big matches, and they're matches that their audience will definitely eat up with a spoon. They are not matches for me. That's I'm not interested in watching Ospreay, even if it's against Danielson. Pac and Okada, that feels like something I would have seen in like 2015 or 2016. I don't need to see it in 2024. Joe and Swerve is probably the most interesting thing on there, but I ain't paying $50 on a Sunday night to stay up and watch that at 11 p.m. The next day, I'll check out some highlights.
Do not let Will fool you. Will middle name is VPN. And
even $20, I'm not staying up to watch that on Sunday night. Just for that one match? No, that ain't enough. Monday I will check out the gifts. I will check out some highlights.
As long as those shows go, they need to start at 6:00, because even if I like the match, it's just, am I staying up to? Because again, AEW said that, like, no, we're going to do Saturday pay-per-views because we can, and no, they don't do that anymore. We really want to have 4 pay-per-views, because who wants to pay $50 a month every month? This is the 90s. Right. Well, now they're doing 10, and a lot of the things that made AEW what it is, they've really far moved away from. So I don't have a problem with them setting certain things and having those aesthetics. I don't have a problem with it being the best indie show with the TV deal. That's not a bad thing. That's not that's not the dig that people think it is. However, I just want matches that are intriguing on a certain level. They have an identity crisis right now. They need to pick a lane and run with it. If they're going to delve into more of the sports entertainment type of a thing with these high concept characters, cool. If they're going to be the high work rate company, cool. If they're trying unsuccessfully to balance the gap between both. And that's why you have a character like Orange Cassidy, who's a big deal in AEW. And then you also have a character like Bryan Danielson, who's a big deal in WWE. And we've said it before, what stars are they building? Somebody, please, free Ricky Starks. Free that man. Open the back door and let him run. Because we've seen it time and time again, where if it ain't now, then when? And we've been saying that for 2 years now. So it's unfortunate that AEW is going down the path of where they are, but they are definitely in their second album, Sophomore Slump, where their first album was the thing that brought them to the party. So I hope they get it together. And you know what? I've been to the Chaffetz Arena in beautiful West St. Louis. Go Billikens. And, yes, this isn't enough to get me back there for the pay-per-view, but also it's just because AEW is kind of falling flat right now. I mean, if they had the pay-per-view in upstate Vermont, it's a decent arena, but I would be there because that's where it was, and that's what I did.
I also think too, like, I'm sorry, well, I let you get in there, but I also think too, because they have pay-per-views, they have their big 4, now they added 3, All In, Forbidden Door, Destiny, Dynasty, and what's the one in St. Louis in Seattle that they have?
World's End.
World's End. So they have 8 total, and then you have Battle of the Belts, which apparently just happened, whether you know it or not.
That was added to the TV show.
And then what else do you have? Blood and Guts. So like,
Blood and Guts is a special Dynamite, and so is Beach Break, and so is the Winter Show.
Now, tell me how many people is going to be able to pick up on all of this if you are just a fan and you just want to watch the show. And when the big shows have the big names, have the big titles, have the big matches, the big titles featured on those cards in the big cities or big locations.
They don't mean anything.
All of this is just convoluted. I'm so at the point now. 50 belts, 50 pay-per-views, 30 special shows. How can you emotionally invest into something when you are doing featured matches without the storyline and say we're going to put a name on this one, so this is a big deal?
And to that point. To piggyback on that, I said that Rhea Ripley should come back for Royal Rumble because we know that's an established timeline that should not change. And that's a good enough time where we can actually kind of timeline the rest of what the year should look like. And we're talking 9 months down the road. And you're right. There are a bunch of pay-per-views, a bunch of special events, another big announcement from Tony Khan, All In London, and then another pay-per-view the week after, All Out in Chicago.
The London show.
The special announcement by Tony Khan is an event. I forgot.
That's an event. It's a total event. Such a DVR buy. But that's the thing, though. Like, all of these special events and high-profile events don't really mean anything. The first time, yes, but the third time, the Forbidden Door is not forbidden anymore. So now it's just another show. How do you make these things special again? And that's also part of the problem. The honeymoon period is over, and you can't get that back. They have to move into phase 2. What is that? Do they even know what that is? And I don't know if they do. So, the show will be fine in St. Louis. And actually, that's usually their better work. The shows that I'm not looking forward to usually come out being better than okay. So, we'll see what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we went some overtime tonight on here. Is there anything else we need to get in here before we move off the air?
Two things. Yes. 2 things. This weekend, Alexandria, VCW, that is happening on Saturday. That is at the Chick Armstrong Recreation Center in Alexandria near Potomac Yard. VCWProWrestling.com for your tickets. Also in beautiful Cheverly, Maryland, Fight Club Pro Wrestling presents April Reigns. That's April 21st. That's at the American Legion, 3608 Legion Drive in Cheverly, Maryland. PAWD_WC. Y'all need a new Twitter handle. If you want to get tickets there, they got a link to Eventbrite that will get you things. So if you're in the DC area, you got one in Alexandria, you got one in Cheverly. That's both happening this weekend.
There we go. Managed to get the indie spotlight in at the tail end of things as we were thrown off there in the middle of the show. We had so much going on tonight. So there you go. Wrestling happening around the DMV, which we always like to see going down. So
yeah.
And
listen,
anything else?
Yeah, shout out to Nyla Rose. That's the statement right there.
Yes.
Who will be in Alexandria on Saturday.
There you go. And come out and support Nyla Rose repping with all the drama they got going on out there in Oklahoma and all this ridiculousness with all that stuff. So, anyways, every Thursday night, 8 p.m., your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast is right here streaming on YouTube, Twitch, X, you name it, streaming live. Next day, dropping in podcast form, and of course, also available biggoldbelt.com/live each and every week. Of course, Big Gold Belt can be found at biggoldbelt.com for all the wrestling, entertainment, pop culture, fandoms, and more. And of course, on social media at Big Gold Belt across the board on all your social media platforms. Thanks for being with us here.
And on NXT.
Oh, and as of course, live as seen on NXT. We got to prop that up this week. So, like we were saying, if you're on YouTube tonight watching, hop over to the videos when we're done, because all the videos that 2 Chainz got WrestleMania weekend that were featured on live on NXT this week are on there, and you can see the entire videos in their entirety. Yes, as seen on NXT. We gotta add that to the screen there as a stinger for the future. All right, folks. Thanks for being with us here tonight. We will see you next week. Until then, take care, and we will talk to you later.
All I really need